Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Whoa, what the fuck? Let's add that one. Extra Emily. Ooh, let's put that one on too. Save to watch later.
For fun thing. It's just that if you harass him, be it on the workplace, the neighborhood, verbally or physically, he is likely to knock you down in one way or another and when you least expect it. Normal people will usually interpret him as being a little shy, while aggressive, dominant people will take him for being an easy prey, and they won't even know what hit them. It may take them a considerable amount of time to put the pieces together and figure out what actually happened. Sigma males are not some kind of dangerous James Bond people. They are first and foremost characterized by going their own way, and as a consequence, dominant, aggressive people will seriously underestimate them. This is what I'm talking about, though, where a lot of them seem to be living in this world where they feel as though everyone's out to get them. So then they retreat into these corners where they, like, prop each other up, like, they're underestimating us. And that's their biggest mistake. Sigmas will rise and grind.
Sigmas will rise!
Through the day they underestimated us, and they won't even see it coming. Now, if I was to cosplay a psychologist, I have noticed the common
Damn, we got on that
thread
screen?
throughout all of the Sigma content and comments over the
Damn,
years,
we got on
which
that
is
screen
always
now.
being
Damn, we got
misunderstood,
on that screen
being
now. Damn,
underestimated,
damn,
or
damn, damn, damn,
ignored by
damn.
society.
Bam,
And
bam,
a lot
bam,
of what
bam,
they
bam,
talk
bam.
about is getting revenge for that and just kind of taking
Woo!
that power
Let's
back for themselves.
go. Here we
And
go.
I'm not just trying to shit
We're
on
in the
Sigma males,
Apex
I actually
Legends
find
now.
it
We
somewhat
got a
sad
skunk
because
smell
I
in
feel
the
like a lot of it
room.
stems
Where did
from
that skunk
things
smell
not
come
going the way
from?
they
I
wanted
don't
it to
know.
while growing
But
up,
I see it
and now
now.
at this point,
Ooh, it's
they kind of push
marijuana.
themselves into a bubble where they're surrounded by people that
Man,
also
the
haven't had the best
marijuana.
time. So they've now made it into this Sigma bubble for
Here we
which
go. Ready up.
it gives them a level of comfort knowing other people there, and they push everyone else away.
The absolute
So just, I
opposite.
don't know, the whole situation with this Sigma shit, like alphas and Sigmas, like Omega males, like that whole, grand cosmic war, it's just been so weird to watch unfold as more and more people lock themselves away inside. But anyway, let's just read some more Sigma comments, I suppose. I can recall many times in my life that people were very surprised at me. One person said, "I didn't know you hated in you." I think it meant had it in you. At another time, someone said, "How did you do that? He was much bigger than you." I wrote some poems one time and recited them in front of a large group of people that knew me well. No one expected that of me. Not the most specific description of Sigma male activities here, but it makes me curious for more knowledge on that. What is the "how did you do that? He's much bigger than you"? Is it referring to a fight? How did you do that? You crushed him with your telekinetic mind abilities. That's incredible. He's so much bigger than you. How'd you do it? And then I remember another time when Uncle Ben pulled me aside in a car ride and said, "Sigma, with great power comes great responsibility." And I've lived my life that whole way. So then I read poems to people. Like, it's very clear in a lot of these comments, the people behind the keyboard are very young. And I feel like if you get lost in this like Sigma versus Alpha versus Omega kind of shit, you are immediately setting yourself up to go down a path that's not going to lead to the best outcomes that you probably want. Sigmas are like snipers lying in wait, sometimes waiting for years, patiently waiting for the right moment to gently squeeze the trigger. The target never knew what hit them, and even better, never knew who fired the shot. And then someone replied to that comment with this, and it seems like they're fighting amongst themselves in this. So this is a Sigma versus Sigma, so stand the fuck back. This is up there with like Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Like the kaijus are throwing down. And I am not moved at all. You sound as though no one can read and get the jump before you get the jump on them. Being unreadable is readable in this game. Like the image of the guy in the still shot before the video, that's readable to me. Unless you have a divine nature, you will give an indication somewhere. And then someone else replied to that, you would have to basically be a mind reader. And even then, you are likely still 2 steps behind. I feel like they just watched a really cheesy 80s action movie, heard a line similar to this, and decided to drop it in response to the sniper line. Like, what? I don't even understand what that's supposed to mean. Being unreadable is readable in this game. What game? What game is being played right now? I don't. What is going on? It's just this really desperate desire to be like a secret badass or be like super special. And I think an important lesson that extends well beyond just Sigmas exclusively is to accept that there's nothing wrong with just being normal. Like, you don't need to have some kind of quirky, special personality trait that defines you. You can just be normal and enjoy life that way. Do you think that the internet's corrupted everyone's brain? Being average is good. But I just totally disagree. I don't know how many times that I've been accused of being unassuming. It almost gets boring. I immediately have to interject. Who's accusing you of being unassuming? I've never met anyone in the world that would come up to a stranger and be like, hey, you're really unassuming. I just can't imagine that being common. But anyway, however, a lot is true. Sigmas hit you like a cobra and are very strategic in their thinking. We are considered to be weak when we avoid confrontation, but when we can, we do not let go and hit back when the moment is right. The effects are devastating. The opponents do not know what has hit them. At work, I have colleagues who think they have the upper hand, but
I got one on me.
it is me manipulating them. They still think they are winning. Once again, this is another example of how all of this is putting you against everyone else, making everything a you versus them mentality, which I think is the most unhealthy way of living life. Constantly being in this imaginary, invisible competition with all of the strangers around you is a recipe for just making yourself miserable. Sigma males know what will happen sometimes years in advance, when no one else has any clue. Not because they're psychic, but because their different perspective allows them to see things that are obvious, but which are usually hidden in everyone else's blind spot. Alphas march uninformed into battle. They declare a war and fight until the conflict is resolved by military means. Sigmas hide in plain sight. They observe everything that is going on and plan 10 steps ahead with extreme precision. They are a one-man army, but they rarely have to fire a single shot, because they know exactly when to strike and how to avoid getting caught. Sigmas are the saboteurs. They break the enemy by silently creating circumstances that make his life hell, and makes his victory impossible to attain. What in tarnation? Listen, many do not even see their part in the cause of why the Sigma is what they are, but others just become a crybaby and about nothing, which is so disturbing and so shallow, and then they project their inner mess on the Sigma, and I have had so many cases that mechanism was projected and falsely assumed, and wrong conclusions are being made, that it is healthy and perfectly normal that they will get hit because they ask for it. If someone keeps kicking your legs, it is normal that at some point you will get a huge shitload of a predictable kickback. And they even dare to feel surprised that kicking someone continuously leads to retribution, especially when you set boundaries in clear and decent manner. Is anyone understanding this huge blind spot of some that are deliberately attacking Sigmas? Because I would like to learn why many people would behave like that. I think that says all that needs to be said. I don't know what was said there, but it was words for sure. I don't know who's attacking Sigmas. Maybe like making jokes occasionally, but like a lot of what they describe feels like they're about to commit an act of violence or something in the comments section. Like some of it feels genuinely a bit unhinged. Anyway, though, again, there is nothing wrong with being quiet or anything like that. You don't need to be like lashing out for that or trying to find reasons for why you might be quiet. Well, it's actually because I'm a secret badass who's always cold and calculating, planning my next move to overthrow the Alphas. It doesn't need to get into fanfic. There's nothing wrong with just being average and normal. There's nothing wrong with it. There really isn't. Just calm down. There's not this big war with alphas against omegas versus betas versus sigmas and all of this. It's just not that deep. But, you know, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because I've been back on that sigma rabbit hole and it's getting weirder than it was like a year or two ago. So that's really about it. So yeah. You have notes of roast to what is that? This got notes of here to roast me with.
What a go-getter.
Give me your best roast. If it's bad, I'm kicking you out. Are you?
Zipline here, fellas.
You got a roast joke. If it's bad, I'm kicking y'all out. What? Are you trying to roast? You trying to roast with no titties, bitch? Get your ass over there. You got a Michael Jackson chest over there, bitch. Your ass. Look, y'all, you can't even, you can't, I know I'm fat, bitch. I accepted that a long time ago. Yeah. There's no excuse for that fucking gay pride camouflage you got on. What you do, boy? Pink lipstick? What do you do? Tell me that. No, I don't even know who. You do what? You never told me that, bitch. When did she ever? Huh? Oh, you was at the other. You was at the first show. Oh, so what the fuck?
We ought to go here.
Fucking smoke shop owner. This cat.
We ought to go here.
This cat.
Lucky for you, I've got some extra
Look at this fucking
supplies here.
smoke shop owner. This cat.
Extended light mag here. Level 4.
Get off the stage, man. What you doing?
Round
What?
2. Beginning ring
Man,
countdown.
get your big DJ Khaled looking ass around the
Already
place, boy.
inside the ring, fellas. Next round's on me.
Another one. You look like a smoke shop owner. What are you talking about? How do I know that? I know you smell them. I know you sell them vapes that don't work, nigga. Try it in the store. Bitch, everything you buy come with a receipt. What is it? This thing act like his store is different from any other store. Nigga, I take debit card. Who else take debit card in Chicago? Man, come with a receipt. This thing act like he's saying something. My man's coming with a receipt. The late shows always be fun, bro. These niggas are stupid as fuck. What is supposed to come with a birth certificate, nigga? What's your ethnicity? You Armenian? Jordanian? Who in this phone? You need to get some more attention, nigga. You ain't doing it right at all. He's halfway gay, nigga. I'm trying to tell you about your man. What do you do for a living? What kind of motherfucker does he? Oh, blood and shit? Huh? You don't get what he does? But you're an assistant principal. You're not even a principal. Michelin man. Okay, come on, another one. This bitch had Michelin man. Oh. 2 and 3 seats. Bitch, I might one first class seat. When last time you flew first class? Assistant principal? What kind of car you got? Lexus what? The GX 330? Oh, you are gay. Nigga, that. How was he acting in the month of June? Pride Month? How was he acting? He was what? He was throwing a lot? Of course he was. Niggas out there marching like that nigga feet tied. That nigga had 1,500 miles on him. That nigga had 200,000 steps in the month of June. She's sick of your shit, bitch. She don't want to lean on her no more. You sick of this bitch? Tell the truth. She's scared. You looking like a shelter puppy. Your ass. I love to see white people turn on each other. What college did you go to? You have notes of roast to what is that? This bitch got notes up here to roast me with.
This bitch wrote it down, and the best she had was Michelin Man. She said that. She said that 4 times. Michelin. Give me your best roast. If it's bad, I'm kicking you out. Are you? You got a roast joke. If it's bad, I'm kicking y'all out. Should she say it? Are you the man in the relationship? Hey, bitch, shut up. I'm gonna do what you should do. Listen to me. You the man. Are you the man in the household? Okay, cool. Light bills in your name? Light bills in your name? What the fuck?
Am I supposed to
Y'all
say
got a
more
house?
stuff?
You rich?
We'll get her in if your heart's in the right place.
So how long have you been a homosexual? I just, oh yeah. Everything about you look good. Stand up.
Introducing your champion.
This nigga look like what? He looks sweet, right?
Just all of you is the worst. Good, I'm the jump
You about to
master.
do a whole bunch
Let
of
old
stuff,
man
man.
Fusey show you ankle biters
And
how we
we
did it back in the day.
That wasn't your life flashing before your eyes.
Are you a
That
top
was
or a
me.
bottom?
Don't worry, I got a prosthetics guy who can replace, well,
Agreed.
everything.
Stand up. What's your name, Chad? Stand up. Does he look straight? Who thinks he looks gay?
Enough lambing around, we dropping.
He looks zesty, somebody said. That nigga like lemon pepper, right? Little sour, little spicy. Look at push shade. Look at this.
Hostiles.
He is good, man.
Cancel that.
I don't even believe she knows this is prison. What team is this from?
An enemy landed near me.
Huh?
Watch yourself.
Look it up, website, and see who the super person is.
Getting a fresh angle.
What you mean not a real story?
Ring countdown.
Lucky us, we are
I
already
just
inside the ring.
want to get Karen right now. Don't do that. He said, don't do that. We've been through a lot. But she's excited to be here. That's what will make me not roast me. I'm fucking with you, bro. I'm fucking with you. Oh, it's her? Oh,
First blood.
First blood. Good thing it's not that.
I go take the sweet angle. Moving.
I don't even know what that was.
Target over there.
250,000.
Target over there.
Number high-speed
shatter
police
the plane
pursuits
shield.
occur every year in the United States.
Throwing
No
thermite
other
grenade.
country on Earth comes even remotely close.
Reloading. Taking fire.
Reloading.
According to the California Highway Patrol, only 57.6% of the slain suspects were
Switching it up.
apprehended, meaning 42.4% of suspects successfully evaded arrest. That number is only growing.
Frag out.
A huge contributing factor to these successful high-speed evasions is the ever-increasing compared to the run of the years of cold years.
Let's go.
There's a policy among continually impossible arguments, sort of recipe that makes them an
In or not,
absolute
just
pain
us.
for law enforcement to
Giving
stop.
my shields a recharge. Oh no, there's another squad attacking.
These ingredients don't consist of an ostentatious bright red Ferrari. Rather, instead, hero cars are those that can balance beauty, acceleration, and ridiculous speed. with
I had no
instant
ammo. I
look that
I've used
only
every bullet I
trained
had.
eyes can distinguish from the normal commuters. Even how almost ban their very existence.
Change will do you good.
One,
If you
these
live
ingredients
through it.
A huge contributing factor to these successful high-speed evasions is the ever-increasing gap of outright.
Attention.
250,000. That's the number of high-speed police pursuits that occur every year in the United States. No other country on Earth comes even remotely close. According to the California Highway Patrol, only 57.6% of the fleeing suspects were apprehended, leaving 42.4% of suspects to successfully evade arrest, and that number is only growing. A huge contributing factor to these successful high-speed
And how many of
evasions
them are
is
motorcycles?
the ever-increasing gap of outright top speed and performance of suspect vehicles when compared to the run-of-the-mill patrol vehicle. There's a common theme amongst these seemingly uncatchable cars, though, a sort of recipe that makes them an absolute pain for law enforcement to catch. These ingredients don't consist of an ostentatious bright red Ferrari. Rather, the best getaway cars are those that can balance brutal acceleration, ridiculous top speed, and inconspicuous looks that only a trained eye can distinguish from a normal commuter. And they even have a name for it thanks to the British, who almost banned their very existence. On this episode of Explained, sponsored by Surfshark, we will take a deep dive into the rise of the super saloon and how it became the preferred method to evading authorities around the world. Historically, where you find organized crime, you will also find fast automobiles used to evade authorities. The 18th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which began the Prohibition era of the 20s and early 30s, made the manufacturing, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors illegal, which gave rise to bootleggers who transported moonshine from rural parts of Appalachia and imported liquors from Canada with hot-rodded vehicles to evade law enforcement. Their specialty was the Ford Model 18, which was more expensive and nearly identical to the Ford Model B used by law enforcement, but ditched the meager 50-horsepower inline four-cylinder for a flathead V8 that produced a healthier 65 horsepower and later up to 85 horsepower. According to bootleggers at the time, it was fast enough to stay one step ahead of the law, rugged enough for the mountain roads, and had a big enough trunk and back seat to squeeze in moonshine. This clear advantage of power, cargo space, and durability, combined with a skilled driver, made the Ford Model 18 the desired getaway car amongst moonshiners and bootleggers, and even bank robbers like Bonnie and Clyde. This recipe of a bare-bones four-door sedan with a higher output power plant, heavy-duty suspension, and braking components would be emulated by Ford and Chevrolet into police packages and sold directly to departments across the country. The 1954 two-door and four-door, for example, was offered with a police package that included an exclusive engine, the Interceptor engine, with more displacement than the standard flathead V8. The clutch, the alternator, the oil pan, the battery, even the tires were beefed up to withstand 24-hour duty and became a hit amongst veteran drivers and police officials. By 1956, General Motors and the Chrysler Corporation would follow suit, offering specialized police equipment packages, and sparked an unofficial arms race across the Big Three to build faster and faster police cars. Dodge within the arms race with their own super saloon disguised as a police car in 1968, the Dodge Polara Coupe. These were ordered by the California Highway Patrol with the E86 engine code, which meant the 440 cubic inch wedge V8, a 4-barrel carburetor, a special camshaft grind, dual exhaust, and 375 horsepower with 480 pound-feet of torque. The 3.23 rear axle ratio hindered some acceleration performance, but gave the Polara Pursuit a 149.6 mile/hour top speed, which was reported at Chrysler's test facility in Chelsea, Michigan. The 440 wedge wasn't the most powerful offering from Chrysler. That would have been the NASCAR-winning 426 Hemi, but the 440 Magnum wedge, combined with the lower axle ratio, meant even the most powerful muscle cars at the time couldn't outrun the Polara speed capability.
Jets, we're dropping hot.
This philosophy of brutally fast and high-tech for the time police cruisers wasn't adopted universally around the world, especially in the United Kingdom. British police cars were smaller, more nimble, and less elaborately equipped than their American counterparts, and preferred manual gearboxes versus the slushy automatic.
Occasionally, though, a special car is needed for a special job. Bedfordshire decided the only weapon to win the joyriding war was the 150-mile-an-hour Cockpit Sierra.
The narrow British roads, combined with the parking space limitations and higher tax on fuel, made the American recipe of a big V8 four-door patrol car unideal for police work. That would all change with the rise of super saloons in Europe.
Extra supplies over here. Say what? We're all inside this ring.
BMW had their E34 chassis code in 5. The hand-assembled saloon born in BMW's motorsports facility outside of Munich and powered by a dual-overhead cam naturally aspirated inline 6 with individual
The
throttle
best happens
bodies and
quick,
north
be
of
ready.
300 horsepower. Mercedes had their Wolf and Sheep's clothing with the 500E, which was also hand-built and co-engineered with Porsche and was propelled by a 5-liter dual-overhead cam V8 designated as the M119. These brutes were stolen at alarming rates, and they became the tool of choice for jewelry heists and ram raids across Britain in the 90s. One specific model became literally uncatchable by authorities. It wasn't a BMW nor a Mercedes, rather an amalgamation between General Motors and their recently acquired Lotus Engineering, known as the Type 104, or better known as the Lotus Carlton. These cars began as a 3000 GSI Vauxhall Carlton or Opel Omega off the production line and shipped to Lotus Engineering to be intensely modified. The inline 6 received a longer stroke forged steel crankshaft, increasing the displacement from 3 liters to 3.6 liters, and ditched the natural aspiration for twin Garrett T25 turbocharged. The forged moly pistons reduced compression from 10.0 to 1 down to 8.2 to 1 to account for the increased cylinder pressure since it was now boosted. The output increased from an already healthy 201 brake horsepower up to 377 brake horsepower. It had wider fenders and bodywork, enormous ventilated disc brakes, limited slip differential, and only offered with a 16 manual from the Lotus Engineered GS.
Watch your backs.
The car wasn't made famous by its Ferrari Testarossa-like speed or Porsche 911 turbo rivaling technology, but rather a gang of ram raiders making a fool out of police in a stolen Imperial Green example.
I need it.
It was stolen on November 26, 1993 from a home in Worcestershire with the registration plate 40RA, and over the course of months was involved in multiple robberies totaling 20,000 British pounds in merchandise, and it couldn't be caught since Austin Maestro Panda cars used by the police topped at 90 miles per hour, while the Lotus Carlton could achieve 177 miles per hour on the M6
Cancel that.
motorway. The Lotus Carlton was simply uncatchable, untouchable,
Let's
and
reposition there.
unprecedented. Well, almost uncatchable. See, while many say the 40RA was never caught, it actually was in January '94. A passerby spotting it in a canal with its dark green paint and a caved-in roof and the registration plate 40RA. The leading publication at the time, the Daily Mail, even British Parliament condemned the car and called for its banishment in Britain. But luckily it was so expensive, sold so poorly, that it would be discontinued before it could be sent to the poor. Similar to the infamous Lotus Carlton of the 90s, today's sponsor Surfshark can make you literally untouchable. Surfshark is a VPN, or virtual private network, that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning all your unique personal data.
God,
like
what a
password,
terrible
bank
segue.
log, and location to the United Kingdom, find out. Back in the States, the super saloon explosion in the late 90s to early 2000s was slow to reach American manufacturers. Body on frame, solid rear axle, high-performance sedans like the Impala SS with its Corvette LT1 small block were essentially a 9C1 Chevy Caprice police car in civilian attire. The Mercury Marauder and its more sophisticated dual-overhead cam modular V8 from the Mustang Mach-1 was a more impressive version of the Crown Victoria Police Interceptor, but still very reminiscent of its police car DNA. They didn't outclass their law enforcement counterparts by much of a margin, not until Dodge would reintroduce the Charger in 2006 on the Chrysler LX chassis. Law enforcement agencies quickly flocked to the Charger Pursuit package as it was more stable at high speeds than the Crown Victoria or Caprice, given its Mercedes E-Class engineered independent rear suspension, and offered a 5.7-liter Gen 3 Hemi V8 from the Road and Track or R2 trim of the civilian Charger that made 340 horsepower, and a Mercedes 5-speed automatic which gave it a 150 mile per hour top speed, finally eclipsing the 1969 Polara Pursuit after nearly 4 decades. Alongside the road and track-based Pursuit, the SRT-8, or Street Racing Technology variant, was available to the civilian market only, which completely outclassed the Pursuit Charger. The 6.1-liter Hemi was in essence a hot-rodded 5.7-liter Hemi with a laundry list of upgrades like its stronger cast iron block, larger bore diameter, a forged steel crankshaft, higher compression from 9.6 up to 10.2 to 1, more aggressive camshaft grind, and cylinder heads that flowed exceptionally for a push-rod design. The new Hemi power plant gave 85 more reasons why it was the go-to super saloon, and thieves would quickly catch on.
Listen up, I'm
Older
getting shot
cars
at.
before the mid-90s were commonly the victim of thieves since the only anti-theft system was door lock and a
Just
keyed
giving my
ignition
shields
lock
a
cylinder.
recharge.
Thieves would bypass the
contact with
ignition
enemy.
lock cylinder and complete the circuit to the ignition, giving power to the ECU and the starter motor without the need of a key. Newer cars like the SRT Charger have a strong bonding ECU that is coded specifically to the car's anti-theft computer. Even if the car is hot-wired, the anti-theft computer locks the ECU from firing the injectors and spark plugs, rendering the car unstartable and useless. This eliminated random low-level theft, but then became a target for specialized criminals who knew how to exploit security systems. Thieves would carry blank uncoded keys and key programming computers. From there, they would program new keys after scaling the special connectors and detonator starting it off the SRT-8. According to the National Institute of Crime Bureau, the most popular model year of Charger Club was the 2006 first model year of come out, and police pursuits began to rise. Someone are more likely that they believe that nearly nothing person that already been good. The supremacy of the Charger as the British getaway car would only get more and more ingrained as the years progressed.
Charging on my shields.
SRT engines got consistently more powerful, going from a 6.1-liter Hemi to a 6.4-liter Hemi. Even higher trim models like the Hellcat introduced a 6.2-liter Hemi with a 2.4-liter twin-screw supercharger, making 707 horsepower, and later getting a bigger 2.7-liter supercharger and 797 horsepower. All the while, the Pursuit Charger kept the standard 5.7-liter Hemi, and while it did get a power bump from 340 to 370 horsepower, it was completely outclassed by the SRT variants used by getaway drivers.
Warning, ring movement in progress.
Another overlooked quality of the Charger was that the V6 GT trim, a 5.7-liter Daytona, a 6.4-liter Scat Pack, a 6.2-liter supercharged Hellcat, and even the 800 horsepower Red Eye looked identical, helping them blend in with similar traffic and much harder to apprehend if law enforcement ever lost the line of sight. These advantages would be extra.
Is that? Oh. No, it's not. There's no way that's Rosanna. It's her sister.
Put it to monumental proportions in an infamous black Dodge Charger in May of 2022. Trooper Jacob Bird began pursuit of a black Dodge Charger that was speeding in a residential neighborhood in Little Rock, Arkansas, and as soon as the chase began, it was over. The Charger was gone. 45 minutes later, it was spotted by Trooper Alan Johnson a couple miles east on the Wilbur D. Mills Freeway and would escape again. 3 months later in August, Trooper Spencer Morris spotted the Charger racing down the highway on the Tennessee-Arkansas border, but the Charger blacked out its taillights, and the skilled driver got away once more. A month later, on September 4th, Trooper Quincy Harris tried chasing the infamous Charger in south of Little Rock, Arkansas, but was dusted as soon as it started. suspecting the Charger, even though it's cladded in RT trim, it most likely had a modified Hemi engine, or could even be an SRT Hellcat with RT body cladding to fool the police.
Care package over there. Let's get on that. Replicators on their way, amigos.
2 weeks later, on the same highway as the second pursuit in May, the black Charger was toying with the police, purposefully pulling over for a traffic stop, and as soon as Trooper Monte Hernandez touched the back of the car, he was gone. As many as 14 chases later, and even a recent encounter in October of 2022, this Charger hasn't been caught and probably never will. The Blackout Charger is, in essence, America's RA-40 Lewis Carlton, a car that is untouchable for its era, even within 100 feet of it is because of driver electric. Both were built on very common terrains of their time, because of the size of the to be replaced. One most likely modified in the garage because a law enforcement restricted it. While the RA-40 Carlton's legendary existence came to an end in 1994, the Blackout Charger is still alive. There's no telling if the next Black Charger with a loud exhaust you see is just an average Mopar enthusiast or the infamous Blackout Charger. And remember, if you ever want to be uncatchable and not risk prison time, it's just easier to sign up for Surfshark. Look in the description down below. Thanks Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Keeps the content free.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Big booty.
Mild
Right?
ribs.
Get us bone out of the pit.
Kinda. Wait, what was the start of the joke?
What did the skeleton say before he ate his meal?
Well, if you bone out the teeth.
No, it's bone apple the tit.
No, bone. So like the joke is that he said bone because he's a skeleton. So like what you say when you're gonna eat is bone out the teeth. So
But that's not a joke because it's bone apple teeth.
no, that's the joke. Is that that's what he said, but the bone is the pun. I don't know what you mean by apple to teeth. That's genuinely, I don't know what you're talking about.
What does he mean apple? He's like bone apple teeth.
The joke is that he said bone. That's the funny part. You've made up your own separate punchline.
The teeth more. Basically, I asked everyone who was on stage, right, after the show. I was like, did they all said that they were no, they wanted it to be real so bad, but they're like, I was like, Fear, did you get he's like, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, and he's like, it was basically an improv class. What?
Is there a way to raise the seat, Nick? Like up it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not dying yet. What? I'm gonna die. Just I'm gonna die today. You really want to die?
Yeah.
So I'll make sure to bend him over and give him a good spank. And we'll see how much it jiggles. So I can't wait to jiggle it.
That's not normal. I don't need. Okay. Alright. God help her.
Pretend like I'm just ready to go to bed, take out my contacts, I go into my pajamas, okay? And then I put on these glasses. Hey guys, I'm ready for bed. Yeah, that's cool. Do I look like really swag and cool?
I'm fine with an XL.
Okay.
I would love
You're
a.
okay with it.
This is an XL?
Yes.
Yeah. I can do it. Oh, ripping that bad boy. I'm like, I got two. And I make sure that you guys have the best angle too, so you guys can see it. But
Hello? Can I have a on the go lunch?
sorry.
Can I have an on the go lunch?
Nick, you have to say
Like the turkey, provolone, pesto on a what's it? I don't know that word. Ciabatta.
Ciabatta. Large cold brew for me, nothing else.
A large cold brew from one of my friends. Yeah, this would be a pretty big order. We have a full cart. Emily, can you order?
Freaking meta.
Ooh, woo.
I don't trust elevators.
Make the viewers
I get to the
cringe
top my
by
own way.
making your best ooh-woo face. Chat decides the
Pay
winner.
attention. I'm Atlanta thing or two.
Ooh, face? Yeah, you guys can get the
I just know I'm gonna see this like on some sort of like fan clip or like later be like, oh my god,
I'm ready to go.
I can't no, I don't know about that, you know?
My sample
Well.
is I'm getting out of the camera. Thank you for letting me know.
Let's land there.
No.
You got that scratch can over here?
May your bullets hit their marks, and not me.
Okay. I'm done.
Oh.
It hurts a lot.
love when you bite me like a big skewy little wolf.
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
Already in the next ring. Take a break if you're old. Jackie, got some materials for us.
Ooh, challenge. Furry challenge. What? It's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. You know the birthday. You had the birthday here. Oh my god. Alright. Discord mod just.
Launching to a new angle.
Ew, Discord mod. I love when you don't run that face when you
I think you used the way out. So you do see this big pile come up right.
I didn't see that. Maybe I should move out.
Okay, I have a really good joke. What's the difference between an enzyme and a hormone?
Oh my gosh.
Looking for sniper
You
objects.
can't hear an enzyme.
Squinting only gets you so many kills. First kill. On the bright side, it was the last.
Actually, I didn't say it's the bad word.
I was like, what's bad about that?
Okay. Fucking enzyme.
Moving to Echo for a better angle.
Ew, what?
Do it.
Fire.
Do it.
Dude, do you smell that? What the fuck, dude? Bro,
Recharging my shields. Chucking an Orc Star. Shattered the Prey shield. Throwing thermite.
I watched. And it was so
Just topping off my shields.
like that movie.
Recharging my
Michael
shield.
Myers. I was having to roll up. I was like, this is the most boring, stupidest movie I've ever seen. It's no scares at all. And like, it's the same trope every time where you try to keep going. And I'm like, okay.
I'm
It's
down.
such a bad
I put Terry over
movie.
there.
What? Am I just a mention or something? Like, how was that movie somewhat enjoyable? It was the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Like,
Find out. Recharging my shields. Healing up. Healing my wounds. Healing shot out. I cracked the target's shield. New kill leader. Good. I'm bleeding out.
They're hurt bad. Just finish him.
Good kill. I'm going to learn a lot what you contact with target. Hostile close. Contact.
He's right there in the corner. He's in the corner. Oh my god.
Be proud, mate. I'm a big bloody deal.
This face. That is what it looks like. Yeah, that's what I got. So now, ready to the hello message. Actor Emily approves. It's a wow. Thank you for supporting. Wow. Probably later tonight. It's fun. He's really excited to get excited.
This is dry as hell.
Thank you.
it's Sean, Will, and Austin. Thank you. I want to see your age podcast. That's so cute. Kitty! Big fan! I'm just kind of I know.
Band again.
Oh, well, what is it?
I texted you the other day, you didn't respond. Wait, what? Because you were driving and you blurred. And that's why she didn't respond.
Have some of my and you are. Guess what? That was like.
Oh, that's not me.
Okay.
That's not
You are right there.
Oh! I don't hate it. Hey, everybody. Okay, I'm mad at you. You're here.
If your heart's in the right place.
Stretch me out.
Syndicate's gonna regret letting Mad Maggie off her leash.
Guys, Hassan is coming. Caroline's here. Italy's been coming. Can I get a D? Hey, BB back to me.
Introducing your champion.
Are you sleeping with us today?
Again? She's a biscuit.
I'm the jump master. AJ Shea, leading the way.
Hang on to your
Are
sangers,
you showered
lads.
before bed,
It's
or is
bound
this
to
in
get
the
messy.
balcony, is it in
Oh, I don't shower. I showered yesterday.
Looks like I beat you.
yesterday before
High
you got
five.
the car?
Oh, I showered 2 days ago.
Combust
So I'll shower
or
from
bust.
But not today.
So when you get in bed with me, you're gonna be 2 days of staying?
It's not today.
Hang on to your
But,
sangers,
yeah,
lads.
Because I can't really sleep with wet hair.
Reckon we cracked. Forget that, eh?
Get ready, moving up. Might be something good that way.
So, anyone remember the rise of Sigma males? While many of you may have forgotten about them, they haven't gone quietly into the night. There's still a very active community of Sigma males.
Did you
that
just say
continue
OMG
to
out
post
loud?
Content, reaffirming that they are the best, the top of the food chain. And sometimes I'll occasionally keep my curious little head in there and see what's going on in the Sigma male community. And there's a channel that does a lot of it, and they recently posted a video called Why Sigma Males Are Seriously Dangerous. And it's the same standard shit where it just spouts a bunch of nonsense that's supposed to sound hard. Like, the Sigma male community treats each other like they're all secretly James Bond. Number 5. Why is Sigma male seriously dangerous? Well, he'll pour a bowl of cereal without ever adding the milk, because the milk is a hindrance to his cold, calculating mind. His slight lactose intolerance isn't a weakness, it's a strength that he uses to get the best of his enemies, and they never see it coming. All kind of stuff. And there's nothing ultimately interesting about the video itself. I'll just go ahead and play like a couple clips real fast. What I want to focus on is actually the comments.
Many people mistake the Sigma male as the shy guy, thinking he is not. Little do they know this is how he wants it to proceed. He's not shy. He just doesn't want to see. He knows exactly what he's doing, and is not going to be underestimated.
It's just 13 minutes of this with footage from popular movies, and it sounds like they're either recording a Spider or Batman. And what's really weird to me is it's not so motivational. If I was someone who's self-identified as a Sigma, hearing this stuff would make me feel really bad about it, actually.
Well, the Sigma man may seem like a harmless figure. He is actually a dangerous man. He may not have big muscles or a loud voice, but his sharp mind is a strategy that is most valuable weapons.
I just don't really get the kind of fantasy that this is trying to appeal to, where everyone is trying to pick on and steal. So this is like
there's another team coming.
You don't want to poke the
There's
sleeping
2 on you
giant
and there's
as
1 more
Sigma
coming.
male.
We're
They
done.
act like Sigma males are being hunted, rounded up in the streets, piles of corpses of Sigma males. Like, I don't know.
There's
why
2 more
all
coming
the
on
Sigma
you,
male
buddy.
stuff is always about,
You're
like,
done.
opponents. Like, you don't want to mess with a Sigma male. Very difficult to deal with opponents. And it's all spoken as if it's some kind of nature documentary from the BBC with David Attenborough commentating it.
Some people find predictability put you on edge. especially when you push them too far. It's like walking on a tightrope with no safety. It's not just about the Sigma Man biology. It's the way they make you feel when you can't anticipate their reactions.
Do you want to get up here or you want us to push somewhere else?
Especially if you're in a confrontational situation with a Sigma.
I won't bother showing you any more clips from the video itself. I think you get it. It's 13 minutes of this. Here's why the Sigma male is so dangerous and so badass. Sigma male.
Well, let's not stick here.
Unpredictability makes him the most fearsome foe imaginable. It's like playing a game of chess against the Sigma, but he can see your moves and you can't see his. But then it turns out the Sigma is actually playing a game of checkers the entire time, and you fell right for his trap. King me. But don't, because the Sigma male doesn't want to be king. He'd rather pull the strings from the shadows like the puppet master he is.
Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and I think the world is going to end one day, ladies and gentlemen, and that day might be sooner than you think. Now, you wonder why I talk about it in such a goofy manner? Because, ladies and gentlemen, life is about enjoying what you have now, okay? Let's be real. If the world ends tomorrow, what are you going to do to stop it, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is sit back, relax, play some Assassin's Creed 2 while a goddamn nuclear inferno is blazing towards you, okay? That's pretty much how I look at things, alright? Goddamn. But to start off with, the topic of today's video is artificial intelligence, okay? Now, AI bros will defend to the death stupid shit like the Kwebbelkop AI. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know Kwebbelkop AI, this is a reaction channel that doesn't even actually react in a human perspective. Basically, Kwebbelkop is trained an artificial intelligence model, and he watches Fortnite animations on the internet and calls it a day. Now, of course, if you look into the comment sections, you can see that it's absolutely beloved by the community, such as the top comment being, only fatherless people will like watching it. Oh. But of course, that's pretty much all it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to leave it where it's at. We've talked about Kwebbelkop AI, and yeah, artificial intelligence is kind of the meme right now, but it's never going to take away from human content like games that I purchased recently, number 13, where there's an actual human being who talks about how they picked up X-Men Legends on the GameCube. Truly a legendary game, okay? No matter how good AI content becomes, I think personally I will always be stuck watching content made by actual human beings. However, that doesn't mean AI is going away. See, today I want to show you something truly awful. Anna Indiana AI. Hello world, I'm Anna Indiana, and I'm an AI singer-songwriter. Here's my first song, Betrayed by This Town. It's really great when an artificial intelligence's first song is about destroying the town and how they were betrayed. If you look at the lyrics, alright, all our favorite spots I thought someday might turn around. But I was lost and never found. Betrayed by this town. Let's tear it all down. Yeah, that's a little scary. Maybe it's not as bad as I
My name is Anna Indiana, and I'm so excited to share my music with you. Here's my first song, Betrayed by This Town.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest there, Chief. That facial, the facial animation is so goddamn scary to watch, it's not even funny. Now look, back in the day when I looked at Will Smith eating spaghetti and I was like, that's pretty stupid. This is obviously miles ahead of that situation. But again, it's still soulless as all hell. Now I think for a lot of individuals who are scared that AI is going to take away their jobs, like, I've heard from content creators who are like, oh shit, I might actually lose my career path. Then you might not even be a great enough content creator, because if AI is good enough to replace you and your personality, I'm sorry, dog, it's just a bad situation all around. But when it comes to artists, and when it comes to, songwriters, I think for them, the fact that AI is, in my opinion, at least the only ethical way to use it is maybe like a tool to draw ideas from.
You just went right
and
past
then
it. You didn't
generally
give a fuck.
do it yourself by your own hand. I think that's probably the most ethical way to do it. Artificial intelligence is trained, for the most part, on other people's information anyway, so there's a huge debate around copyright and whatsoever. But here they showcase the actual code in defining and writing and producing this song, right? Which again, it is actually an AI song, because they showcase
how again it's basically laid out on a song sheet, and of course the artificial intelligence actually runs the background music. From what I understand, they write the rhythm, they space the rhythm, they write the lyrics, and then of course they generate this video out of it. So again, it's a purely AI-driven song. Now that said, it's not exactly good in any capacity. Is the song good? Is it going to beat, like, Taylor Swift off the charts? Probably not, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest about that here, okay? Jesus Christ. And again, like, obviously there's a bit of a not really mixed reaction. You can see people say, "Is it trash?" I used to think AI was great, not anymore. Please, well, F4 yourself. Why is your AI threatening to burn down towns? Which is actually a very, very good answer right there. I mean, why is it? So again, I looked more into Anna, Indiana, and it's not like they're blowing up anywhere. Like that immediately elicits. I almost thought this AI would have an OnlyFans. I almost thought I was about to see AI porn for the first time. Like an AI influencer already dropping a red hot dick. But again, it's all just social media channels that haven't exactly, ran out flying. Their TikTok is sitting at like 7 followers. And of course, their YouTube channel, as we've seen, is currently at 113 subscribers. But again, it's not about like the size of these channels, it's about the volume of what you're about to see. I firmly believe a lot of corporate entities and people in this space will start producing AI influencers, okay? Whether that be AI reaction channels, whether that be AI musicians, whether that be AI gameplay channels, where somebody will record like a let's play of a video game and just run that shit through an AI. Literally, you're about to take the concept of DSP Gaming's boring videos and somehow turn that shit into artificial intelligence. In that regard, I would say the only influencer that could probably be beat by artificial intelligence would be DSP Gaming, but that's a whole separate story.
That's some shade. That is some shade. Whoa, why'd you go up there? Go large, go small. I'm Halo Infiniting it. Whoa, why aren't you even showing there, buddy? There you go. That's what I needed, Chief.
Story right over there. See, the story doesn't end at influencers. The reason why I said it's the end of the world is I wanted to show you in the beginning how AI was improving, right? Like, look at what we saw 1 year ago, right? We were drawing, like, we were starting Midjourney, like, less than 2 years ago. And now we're sitting at a point where AI is producing videos, background music, lyrics, and combining all of it and uploading it to the internet. We're reaching a point where cohesion is a thing. And that's before we're reaching the era of, like, AI sentient. So recently in the news, if you haven't been realizing and catching up on things, you've probably realized that the Pentagon is currently pushing forward into lethal autonomy, okay? So we are now moving into a world where artificial intelligence is going to be working on autonomous vehicles. And they want to work on this by 2026. So right here it says, the Pentagon is intent on fielding multiple thousands of relatively inexpensive, expendable AI-enabled autonomous vehicles by 2026 to keep pace with China, which is basically their largest competitor geopolitically in the world. The ambitious initiative, dubbed Replicator, seeks to galvanize progress in the too slow shift of U.S. military innovation to leverage platforms that are small, smart, cheap, and many. While its funding is uncertain and details vague, Replicator is expected to accelerate hard decisions on what AI tech is mature and trustworthy enough to deploy, including on weaponized systems. So we have a word for that, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Skynet. If you remember Skynet from the Terminator games, this was basically an advanced neural network that eventually gained self-awareness, and as soon as it did, human beings decided to stop it, but then what happened was Skynet basically launched a nuclear attack against humanity known as Judgment Day. Now, James Cameron came up with this concept way back in the fucking day, okay? And now, as human beings in today's era, we're basically forced to replicate, because as you all know, there's basically the military-industrial complex, which is in a forever arms race, okay? If any other country comes up with some cool weapon, I bet you in the United States, they've come up with it 10 years ahead of what any other country has. But AI is new, and it's burgeoning. And as many as, like, tech companies want to say, let's put a stop for a year, if there's one industry that never puts a stop to progress, it's the military complex, okay? They will find the most efficient ways to kill human beings, alright, year over year. That's just how this business works. So again, there's a little dispute among scientists, industry experts, and Pentagon officials that the U.S. will, within the next few years, have fully autonomous lethal weapons. And though officials insist humans will always be in control, experts say advances in data processing speed and machine-to-machine communication will inevitably relegate people to supervisory roles. Which is true. I mean, hey, again, I hate to keep bringing sci-fi video games into the mix, but even Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker had something known as the Peace Walker AI, which would retaliate to a nuclear strike sent against it. Now, in the game, a fake nuclear attack was reported to the system, and it immediately started launching nukes right back to the country known as the Soviet Union at the time. So again, an AI was able to make a decision that a human would think twice about. When you talk about taking down the world and ending it all, for human beings, that's a serious moral dilemma. For a computer, it's a yes or no prompt. That's just how it is. Now, of course, do I think that the nuclear weapons program is being handed to artificial intelligence anytime soon? I would pray to the Lord not, okay? But again, the more autonomous systems become, eventually you're going to have artificial intelligence, you know, basically running in parallel with human beings in the government, in the military even. And again, it's not just the US that's doing it, it's also China. Now, if you don't know, China has actually had a big ban in graphic cards, okay? If you go to NVIDIA's Chinese website, one thing that you're not noticing in here is the RTX 4090, okay, out of the Ada Lovelace line. And that's because the United States government has banned NVIDIA's fastest gaming GPU right now because of these exact AI concerns. So to understand, right now, Chinese companies are able to buy a slowed down version of graphics card from NVIDIA specifically, like the H800, restrictions by slowing the on. So the reason why these bans are happening is to prevent Chinese access to advanced semiconductors that could fuel breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, especially with military use. So again, ladies and gentlemen, they did not want to hurt Chinese economic growth. They just didn't want their biggest competitor to have access to tools that could put them on par with the US military. That's how scary things are kind of becoming. When we're banning graphics card, it's not a matter of like, let's just prevent Chinese gamers from playing. This is literally the US government wanting to keep their military at a #1 power. And of course, a lot of the actual companies expect this. For instance, NVIDIA literally even said on October 17th, the US government announced that it would submit the interim final rule, implementation of additional export control. So again, they mentioned additional licensing requirements for exporting from China, which again, you can still sell things in China, but they have to go through an exporter, and there's basically a presumption of denial. So companies are basically outright saying that they're not expecting the US government to sign any of this through. So the graphics card that I have in my rig is not banned in China, it's just not supposed to be exported to China at all. And from what I understand, companies can't outright sell it, and I don't think privately you can sell it to a Chinese buyer or seller anyway. It's, from what I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, it is all in all. So how do the Chinese retaliate to this? Ladies and gentlemen, there have been factories in China currently stockpiling GPUs. So you can see a stockpile of 4090s right here. This should belong in a goddamn bank vault with how expensive each of those GPUs are. So what these Chinese firms are basically doing is taking these GPUs and remanufacturing them and basically prepping them for data centers. So you can see right here, they're taking these GPUs, stripping them down, and basically getting them prepped to put into an AI workload. And even those GPUs I just showed you seem like they were received before the ban was put in place. So after that ban date is there, a lot of these Chinese companies that work in artificial intelligence pretty much have to break the law if they want to keep that same pace. And that's sort of the big thing, right? Like, gamers are the ones that obviously are going to get hurt even more because the prices for these graphics cards, and now them being a black market good, will skyrocket their price upwards more than they already are, just because there's a lot more people, a lot more money in companies who want to take these relatively cheap cards for their workloads and just apply building, like, you know, the state-of-the-art AI that the US government is basically afraid of. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, that's the advancements in AI weapons, and it's been a talk about since, like, what, April of 2020. So again, ladies and gentlemen, even back in the day, the Chinese PLA seems to become a world-class military, meaning they want to have the same level of tech that the United States has. And that's why they've significantly have been investing in robotics, swarming, and other applications of artificial intelligence, and as well, machine learning. Full distinction to make between the two.
One on the tower with a sniper, right above you, Master, all the way top, all the way up, Master.
And AI musicians and AI reaction channels, as I am scared about this same technology being used to fucking kill us. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't trust any world government, okay, if I'll be goddamn honest. If you think for a second that I trust the United States or China or the Russian Federation, I don't trust any of these groups. They're all self-interested, and I think it's really scary that, honestly, we live in a world where we have technology that eventually can replace human decision-making when it comes to killing human beings, okay? It takes one virus, one mess-up, one skip to turn that from, like, some goofy tool that you're using to something that thinks all human beings are bad and just decides to drop the missiles right on. I can only hope that the governments going forward are going to come up with a million stopgaps for it, okay? But what I've seen in the arms race is bigger is always better, and who gives a shit about safety as long as you've got the most destructive product on hand. So ladies and gentlemen, yeah, world, I don't know, it might end soon, but to be honest with you, if the world does end, all I know is we've had the best time, and I'm gonna live every day like it's my last, okay? And the day that mushroom cloud shows up, I'm gonna crack open a cold one, sit down with the boys, and watch the Inferno fly right at me. Because I played Fallout, I played Stalker. Those are not worlds that I want to be participating in. So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, this has been a bit of an anxiety-driving moment for me. So let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Maybe I am just too anxious. Maybe I am doom-scrolling a lot more than usual. But,
Get on the flag! Where are you
So
guys?
far, and seeing the events sort of fall into place is truly a scary.
Almost
scary
returned, didn't you?
thing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. Come on.
But Joe Rogan saying.
So you were saying that you're on the fence, off the fence about Crush.
The story I was hearing it's a lot. But I'm gonna skip a lot of it. But what I was reading and slash what they were saying is that one possibility that could be going on is there is I think we're taking in some of Graham Hancock stuff too. If people were around on Earth 500,000 years ago, in some way, there was some split and a second set of humans continued on, and we're like in this interdimension space where they're both happening simultaneously, and that's where like No. This is from I'm gathering this all from like that video. I'm adding this to my Graham Hancock stuff too because this kid also interviewed him, Jesse Michaels, on his podcast.
Okay.
And talked about some of the same stuff. But something they said in the Grush interview on his podcast was that an idea would be that these people exist on like a split timeline from us. We had cataclysms and died and repopulated and whatnot. Now we've been in this place since 2023 with combustion engines flying around. These people have been in a different anti-gravity figured out.
And they went somewhere else?
I don't think they're not even saying that. This is where they're not talk about that, but I think what they're saying or getting at maybe is that they're here. That's why the nuclear thing is so important to them. They're on the same planet as us. If we blow up the planet, it goes away.
So they're here, we just don't know where they are.
And that's where the interdimensional thing comes in. That's what I'm gathering out of what I've heard.
How are you going to say it?
It's not. I don't think I'm saying it's my theory. This is what they're sort of saying. And Gresh is sort of like, that's an interesting thing you're saying. He's not confirming anything or anything, but it's a lot to take in. That's definitely for sure.
It's all a lot to take in. David Grush is that UFO whistleblower that testified in front of Congress.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, man. The thing about it is, I believe he's telling the truth as far as what he's experienced and the documents that he uncovered and the people he talked to. But how do you know whether or not they're just using him as a useful idiot to just get out some silly story because they're covering up for the fact that there's some very advanced drone system that the United States government has that's trying to keep under wraps?
Right.
It might be both.
I think it's everything's involved.
Here's the thing. You're on all. You ever see a UFO?
No.
Ever see Bigfoot?
No.
Ever talked to a hunter that's seen a UFO?
No.
Ever talked to a hunter that's seen Bigfoot?
I talked to,
Really?
the guys down at San Carlos, the Apache Reservation,
Yeah.
they said they've seen stuff.
Okay. Were they on peyote?
I don't know.
I know a lot of those Indians
I don't think so. I mean, and it's been like multiple times.
What kind of stuff?
Like something square flying.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Because that is the thing that they describe, right? It's a square with a sphere inside of it, like a black. No, the opposite. Yeah. A sphere with a black square inside of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. I don't know anybody other than that. That's the first story I've heard from somebody who I have talked to.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That thing they do spot. That's a common one. Some flying square inside a sphere, like a translucent sphere. And that's like within the pilots, you know. That's a weird one.
Right.
Because that my theory, and this is totally unfounded without any research.
Those are the best kind.
My favorite kind. My theory is that they have this ability to make something move in this insane way with gravity, but they can't put a body in it, and they can't put weapons in it. They can't, it's just an object that they can get to move at insane rates of speed. That's what I think. I think the military applications of this thing have yet to be figured out.
but I think they do have something that can do things that we have no knowledge of. But the United States government's they probably have in their possession something that was either back engineered from something from somewhere else, or something that they developed in a completely top secret environment with top research scientists, probably during the war, during World War II and III, or Vietnam, and in Iraq and Afghanistan. You think about the amount of money that gets funneled through the government, and that they don't. I mean, didn't the Pentagon just for the 6th year in a row fail their audit? When did you fail your audit? I think is that what it was?
Yeah, they're passing. But yeah, they just correct because they failed 6th audit with number passing grade.
So there's a lot of money flowing around. Is my point. And who knows how much of that money is going to these secret programs that we don't know about?
No.
And if they did that, and they did have the top scientists, and if I was the chief of staff, and I was running the Pentagon, I would want the best scientists. So I'd recruit the best scientists, and I'd say, hey, you know, this is national security. We're working on this project. It uses gravity propulsion. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody, but you get to work on some cool shit.
Yeah.
And
you get paid a lot of money.
You get paid a lot of money, and you get to be a part of one of the most insane discoveries in human history. So this is what we're working on. I think
Behind you?
Likely too. But then you got to go back to like the Foo Fighters from the 1940s and the crash at Roswell, and then you also have to be open to the possibility that, like, look, there's a lot of planets out there. A lot of planets out there. It's very possible to know
that. Before we wrap up, I gotta say one more thing.
Move the flag. Just move the flag.
Love that.
I love Jelly Roll.
You know, we talked about him last time. I think we even listened to his songs, but I finally saw him live
he's amazing.
at the Opry. He was like the fucking. I mean, if I think about how nice he is, I could almost. I don't want to say I'm gonna cry, but it's like he is so nice, dude.
Yeah, he's a
it's like he treated me like family.
Yeah.
I mean, we went out to dinner, and then even after the show, he's just like, he goes, what'd you think of my family? I mean, he cares.
Yeah.
He is such a big-hearted person. And it was amazing how welcoming and kind and thoughtful and amazing show. Talks to the people, like, makes people cry when he's talking to them in between songs because he's so heartfelt.
Yeah.
He's been through so much, but he's like,
There's you and him and Nelly. That's awesome.
And I don't know how he was back in the day, you know, but all I know is I know he made mistakes. I know he's been in jail. I know he's whatever, but now I don't know a better person.
Yeah, he's been through a lot.
He's incredible.
He came out on the other end an amazing person.
He's fucking nominated for 2 Grammys.
I know.
What a journey.
What a journey.
I mean, I
just look at him like you would never imagine. Look at that guy. When you hear him sing, you're like, whoa.
No, and what, you know, Tanner mentioned this too. When people first see him, they're like, oh, he's got tattoos on his face. Tanner says after you get to talk, he goes, you don't even see the tattoos.
Right.
You see this pure soul.
Yeah.
And like, what tattoos?
Yeah.
I fucking don't see shit. So like, you get distracted by that at first, but when you talk to him and realize, you know, what a loving person he is, you're just like, I don't see anything. I see just this big-hearted man.
That's the same thing with Post Malone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta meet him. He's amazing. I love that dude to death. He's so fucking talented, too. We saw him perform in Houston. My wife and I flew to Houston to watch one of his shows.
Really?
Oh, it was amazing. And then we were hanging out with him afterwards.
Yeah.
He wants to play Magic the Gathering.
I don't know. Those artists, I don't know. They're different people, but they're so, I don't know. It's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, he's very inspiring. When he gave me that platinum record and we posted out that he saw it,
I did. Incredible.
It's really a great gift.
Well, here's another thing too. He said when he was a kid, he used to dream about having records like that. You know, like have it all. And he goes, now, what I want. So we went to the show at the Opry, but then the next day, I had to go train with Rich, but then he said, you know, can you meet for lunch at Soho House or whatever? And I said, yeah. So he's like, I want you to sign my book. He's like, because for your book, he had my Endure book. And he's like, I used to think that I wanted records on the wall. He goes, but now I want a book signed by you. that's what I want. And he had like gloves from I think a fight. Can't remember whose gloves, like UFC gloves. But it's like that's what means something to him now.
Yeah.
Not the personal accolades.
Right.
But I just God, I can't talk enough positive about that guy.
He's such a warm soul. The first time
incredible.
I met him at the mothership. He came here to see Ron White, and I was Jelly Club had first opened, and I was kind of there just hanging out, making sure everything was running right, because we had just
Grenade.
And then they said, "Hey, Jelly Roll's here to see Ron White." And then you know where the green room is?
Yeah.
The club.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming up the stairs, and I was walking out, and I saw him, and he just goes, "What?" Big giant hug. I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy's everything I hope he would be." He's amazing. There's beautiful people in the world, man. You know, you need them. They change the way you feel about the way you interact with people.
And he makes me, that's what I said when I got home. It makes me want to be a better person.
Yes.
Because I saw how he treated everyone. Like, there'd be people on the sidewalk, and there'd be like, you know, these little old women, and or not old, probably my age. Well, what am I talking about? But like so, like caught off guard, like, oh my God, Jelly Roll's here, and he's like, what's up, Mama? How you doing? How you doing tonight? Give him a big hug.
Yeah.
Just like looking him in the eye, and just the sweetest person, just some person walking by.
Sorry,
Really,
I jumped
that's
off.
a guy where life gave him a fucking terrible hand, and he got through it, and he came out on the other end, and now he's amazing. You know, now it's like this amazing journey that he can like really truly appreciate every aspect of it, and he's so good at expressing that. He's so good at spreading that love, spreading that positivity, and it really does make you want to be a better person. It makes me want to be a better person. Both him and Post, they make me want to be nicer to everybody. And I try real hard to be nice to everybody.
You do a great job.
So hard.
You do an amazing job, but it's like you don't do as good as him.
No. It's like there's levels. There's levels to everything.
It's just like I think his eyes are just so kind too.
Yeah.
Because it's like what I see, and we said this the last time, but like you see the pain. You see pain in his eyes still a little bit.
Yeah.
Or I do.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
You see it in his music. You hear it.
You hear it.
You hear it for sure. You can't be that soulful unless you've experienced some dark times. I mean, there's some magic to the way he sings that I just don't.
Come on!
Baby.
No.
You get that. From
How could I not grip?
And coming out on the other side as this like beautiful creation of love and creativity, and that's that dude. That's the real thing, man. You know, that's not an act. That's him, 24/7, and it's amazing, and it's very inspirational, and it's very good for everybody. Good for everybody. It's good for everybody he encounters.
He was like, you know, he was so busy after the show, and they had to do promo stuff after the Opry, so we forgot. And then he told me, he goes, I didn't get to say goodbye to Tanner. I took Tanner to the show and his girlfriend. He's like, I said, oh, I think you said goodbye. He's like, oh, I didn't give him a good hug to say goodbye. And it's like, I mean, thinking about even that.
I know.
Just about my son. It's just,
there he is. Yeah. We can end with the speech, because this speech is fucking incredible.
You gotta say it, and I'm gonna say it live. I'm sorry, but if I could say this, thank you to the ladies of Stone Age Pretty Best, to John Logan, Joe Jamie, you saved my life. Country Radio, what's that? Got 1,000 people to thank you, but most importantly, my Lord and my wife. I love you so much, you saved my life. Megan Parker, Haley, I don't know. Closing in. Chad Brown, I think you were one of the hottest things I've ever done. You can third push as much as anybody else. I love you, man. We're still here partying the rest of the night, baby. Something told us about a 39-year-old man winning new artist of the year. I don't know where you're at in your life or what you go through, but I want to tell you to keep going, baby. I want to tell you to keep that going.
Power weapons have arrived.
Fuck yeah.
But
Get me
he's a
killed.
preacher.
Yeah, let's start with this. I'm sure most of you probably didn't even know this came out. I didn't know. My parents told me that it was actually released. We talked about it on stream last week or something. Basically, Netflix threw a desperate Hail Mary. They did a real-life Squid Game in the same vein as Mr. Beast, but did it so much worse and cheesier.
Lake Geneva, Switzerland, July 1816. Lord Byron's breath mists the window as he looks out on the frozen lake. He traces his finger through it and then coughs. He's been hitting that opium pretty hard. They're supposed to be frolicking outside. Him, his Dr. Polidori, his friend Shelley, and Shelley's wife Mary. But it's too cold for boating or hiking. A year without a summer. So instead, they're inside telling ghost stories. Polidori wrote some trash about a vampire, but Mary, she turned out a great tale. Frankenstein. Byron, meanwhile, mulls on the apocalypse. A Swiss doctor has written an article predicting that the sun is failing. Supposedly, people believing it have committed suicide, while others have gone into hysterics, thinking that it's the end times. Byron puts pen to paper. I had a dream which was not at all a dream. The bright sun was extinguished, and the stars did wander darkly into eternal space. Rayless and hapless, the icy earth swung blind, blackened in the moonless air. Morn came and went and came.
I do
And
not even
brought
know how.
no
You don't even grab there. Come on, what? You grab lower.
Thanks so much to Cosmic for helping to keep people's personal data personal. Even before the year without a sun, parts of Europe were in a deep freeze. For instance, the colder-than-average winter of 1812 had played a major part in breaking Napoleon's invasion of Russia. And during that retreat, the mercury dropped so low that the outer flesh on horses froze. Starving soldiers could carve off strips and eat them while the horse kept moving, entirely numb. Yeah, that cold. Today, climatologists believe that two eruptions in 1812 had played a part in that particularly bitter winter, and that their particles were still in the atmosphere when Mount Tambora erupted. Across Europe, sunsets were red for a year. Artists tried to capture the odd hue, mixing ambers and rust colors into their landscapes. Several different crops failed, leading to food riots where the crowds carried banners reading bread or blood. And when snow fell, sometimes as late as April, it was polluted with volcanic dust, so it appeared brown, red, yellow, or blue. The effects were particularly bad in the newly founded United States, where parts of New England experienced snowfall into June. Only a quarter of the corn harvest was edible, making prices skyrocket. And at Monticello in Virginia, a retired Thomas Jefferson experienced a near total loss of his harvest due to frost. There were even reports filtering in.
What the fuck?
Or dropping to earth, their hearts giving out mid-flight. But Europe and North America survived. Because the Little Ice Age is not actually a story of apocalypse, but of adaptation. Over the centuries, humans recognized the dangers of the cooling climate and took steps to mitigate the havoc that it could wreak on their lives. Many of these adaptations involved a move away from subsistence farming to a market economy, where individuals were not responsible for producing the exact food that they ate. Possibly the greatest innovator here was the Netherlands, and it definitely reaped the rewards of that adaptation. Since the Netherlands had such low elevation, even as far back as the medieval era, the Dutch began constructing dikes and seawalls to hold back floodwaters from storms, but also to extend the shore out to sea. This building program went hand in hand with the mass construction of windmills to pump water out and prevent flooding of low-lying areas. Which, I actually never realized until now that's what most of the windmills in the Netherlands did. Guess they're not just for tourist photos. That's pretty cool. But even more revolutionary was their economic policy, which moved the population away from food production, Dutch soil being generally poor anyway, and towards skilled trades like manufacturing, investment, and oceanic trade. This was made possible by establishing regular grain imports from the Baltic nations that were more agriculturally productive, freeing up their workers to make money and then buy the imported grain. So by concentrating on earning capital, this cash-flush society could also afford the higher food prices in a bad harvest year. Indeed, the Dutch even used the erratic weather of the Little Ice Age to their advantage, making aggressive moves when the grain markets were destabilized, and taking advantage of changing wind patterns to access certain areas faster than they ever could previously, a major advantage in trade and war. Tellingly, while Europe and But just further south, across the channel, another story of adaptation was going on in England, ravaged by the Great Hunger of 1315 and the Black Death. In the Renaissance, the English began an agricultural revolution. The first wave came in the 16th and 17th centuries, as farmers began to diversify their crops away from temperamental cereal grains like wheat and barley. They mixed in clover and turnips for animal feed, causing the now well-fed livestock to be more resistant to both cold and disease. And with fewer animals sick at harvest time, fewer had to be slaughtered, which then in turn provided more breeding space. And of course, the potato as well swept Europe after being imported from Peru. Easy to cultivate, able to grow in poor soil, and far more nutritious than bread, it truly was the superfood of the early modern era for animals. Yeah. See, potato leaves are poisons, right? So people didn't really want to eat any part of it first. In fact, Frederick the Great tried to introduce the potato into the Prussian diet as a means of avoiding the cyclical famines common to Central Europe. That didn't work for the aforementioned reason, so instead, he sent soldiers to guard the potato fields in order to make the tubers look desirable. But, not guard them too well. He wanted them to be stolen. Smart guy, that Frederick. Someone should do a series on him. Oh, wait! But England had another solution that wasn't so delicious. See, in medieval Europe, most villages had common land. These were places that peasants could farm for their own subsistence, or allow herds to graze. Similarly, poor peasants also had rights to glean the large field, to move through it after the harvest and pick up any grain that had fallen, or stalks that could be turned into hay. But over the period of the 16th through the 19th centuries, essentially all common land in England was taken away in a system of enclosures, consolidated into larger and larger
Why do you
farms
keep running away
by the
from me?
landowners. Charity practices like gleaning ended. On the one hand, this made food production more efficient and bountiful, making famines and bread riots unheard of by the 18th century. The landlords, sharing new methods of agriculture via the printing press, could also easily pivot to new and more resilient crops. Plus, they cleared forests and conditioned soils to create more cropland. But on the other hand, enclosures also turned huge amounts of peasant laborers into wage workers, who landlords hired at planting and harvest time, if they were lucky. While there had always been poor people, whose land was not very good, for example, or who had life-changing medical issues, enclosures created the modern concept of poverty as a large class of people who had to move to find work, with many moving into cities. By the 18th century, over half of English were classified as being part of the poor. And even for those employed on farms, wage competition drove their standards of living way down. So enclosures were not good, but also not enclosing wasn't great either. France, for example, didn't implement agricultural reforms, and as a result, plots of land got smaller and smaller as they were split between the descendants of aristocrats, meaning that a large-scale switch to new crops or different methods became impossible. Combine that with the French peasants initially refusing to adopt the potato, and this set the stage for a series of crop failures and famines in the 18th century that killed 10% of the French population during the rule of Louis XIV and helped lead to the Revolution. There were individual changes too. House construction changed to phase out the less efficient open fires common during the Middle Ages and replacing them with chimneys and iron stoves that could heat more rooms with less fuel, sort of like how we're trying to individually transition to solar now. Other adaptations were not so benign. In Japan, a cycle of flood, drought, and frost that began in 1640 got so bad that the shogun ordered a freeze on the making of alcohol and non-essential food products like udon and soba. And in one province, things were so horrifyingly dire that everyone under the age of 7 was killed in a population cull. Yeah, not all forms of adaptation are good, obviously. And then, around 1850, the climate started to warm up. This was partially due to natural factors, but also because the clearance of forests to make more arable land and the increase of industrial pollution ignited the era of man-made climate change, which eerily puts us where we are today. In fact, as we were working on these episodes, Rob and myself were breathing wildfire smoke during what one scientist called the hottest summer in 120,000 years. So what can we learn in the present day from the Little Ice Age? Well, of course, it is a dire warning of what climate change can do to humans, but in an attempt to turn a bit of a frown upside down, it also really is a tale of hope. It's shown us that if we recognize the problems and make adaptations big and small, humanity can get through something like this. Heck, we can even thrive. And we sort of have to, because really, if we don't, we might soon see a year without a winter. And not to pile on the bad news, but seems like every day there's another article about a new data breach at a company that definitely has all of my information. And this is like the 6th robocall I've gotten today. Wait, hold on. What do you mean you need confirmation to open a new bank account? I didn't open a new... dear viewer, that used to be me before I signed up for Incognito. Seriously, between the rise of data brokers collecting and selling your data, and the uptick of people search sites putting your personal info out on the internet for all to see, it's now pretty impossible to keep your private data completely private on your own. But now with Incognito, I don't have to worry about any of that, because after a very speedy sign-up, they went to work bombarding these shadowy parasites with requests to remove all of my personal info. Plus, they keep the pressure on, continually citing local laws to make sure my data stays removed for good. And I can keep track of the entire process through their intuitive real-time dashboard. Oh, would you look at that? 43 requests already completed. Heck yeah! So, if you want to keep your personal data, your personal data, you can get 60% off Incognito by visiting Incognito.com/extra credits and using our code extra credits. Or to save some time, you can click right here to get Incognito, and once you've ruined the data broker's day, be sure to check out another of our videos here. The biggest being thanks to Ahmed Ziad Turk, Angelo Valenciana, Arclight Games, Dominic Valenciana, Izzy Coin, Joseph Blaine, Kuya Koi, and Michael Hoggett for being our legendary patrons.
I've owned and tested a lot of different drills over the years. It's part of what I do on the channel. I've also tested lots of different batteries, different handles, different accessories, but there is one upgrade that stands head and shoulders above the rest because it can make your drill more accurate, more reliable, and actually easier to use. That makes it so you don't have to focus so much on the drill, but you can focus more on the job at hand. Now the crazy thing is, most of us have never even considered this as an upgrade for our drills. For any job that you're working on with the drill, obviously you want to make sure that you have enough battery power and the right kind of battery for the job. You want to make sure that you have the right bit in your chuck, but what's made a huge difference for me is actually having the right chuck in your drill. This actually does 3 important things for you with your drill on any job. Number 1, this will save you the frustration of having bits that actually come loose, get wobbly, or fall out while you're on the job. A good chuck should hold on to that bit like an iron fist the entire time you're using it, not only when you're chucking it, but when you're in heavy use as well. Number 2, it will provide more consistent and more concentric holes. Holes that are perfectly centered and perfectly round every time, as well as giving you the ability to drive nuts, bolts, screws, fasteners, whatever you need, without any wandering and without any wobble. Number 3, it should be able to do all of this while making your drill more compact. That means that you're going to fit into those tighter spaces, have less of those awkward moments where the drill just doesn't quite fit, because a shorter chuck can help you get into those tight spaces even easier. Some of you may have seen my video about the supposed secret locking feature that drills were supposed to have, and even the drill manufacturers claimed was real.
Yes, you can. You can touch button and stick it back once and then lock it back down.
Millions of people saw that video, but far fewer saw the follow-up video I made where I got in touch not with the drill manufacturers this time, but with the people who would really know how these chucks work, the company that makes them. Here in my hands, I've got a couple of chucks by a company called Rome. Now, Rome has been making chucks for over 100 years, actually. And if you look at the different drills that you'll find around the world, especially the better performing ones, the name brand ones, a lot of times they have Rome chucks on them. Now, I recently did a whole bunch of testing on some drills, basically the best ones that we can buy here in the United States, and there were all kinds of chucks on them. But interestingly, most of the ones that actually performed the best, like the best version of each brand, often had a Rome chuck on it. By way of example, both the top-end Home Depot and the top-end Lowe's DeWalt drills come with Rome chucks. The most powerful Bosch drill that you can buy comes with a Rome chuck. As well as, if you've seen Festool drills, you know that they're typically geared towards woodworkers where they need that total accuracy. Those also have a Rome chuck. Unfortunately, some of the best drills out there, like this Flex drill that I tested and does an awesome job, it's like a total powerhouse. It's great in almost every single way, but the chuck that comes on here is a lower quality chuck. It's just not as performant as a Rome chuck, for example. So this is something that's easy to fix. Unlike the competition, Rome's chucks are designed, manufactured, and tested in Germany. You're getting precision German engineering, and if you talk to anybody who's looked at replacing their chuck, they'll tell you that Rome is the Mercedes-Benz of chucks. I mentioned earlier that a lot of people, it just doesn't cross their mind to upgrade the chuck on their drill. Well, I'm guilty of that as well. Up until a couple of years ago, this is something that never even actually crossed my mind. I figured when you are opening that brand new box and taking your drill out, that is the best your drill is ever going to be. Maybe you can put some new batteries and things like that, but I never thought that you could make it actually perform better and more. The process of upgrading your drill chuck isn't as hard as you might think. It typically takes maybe about 10 minutes, and you probably have all of the tools that you need to perform this process already. One cool thing about this process is it's kind of like breathing new life into your drill, because you probably have a drill that's pretty decent already, and maybe you have a couple of issues, like maybe concentricity, like getting that perfect circle is a little bit of an issue, or grip, maybe it's not holding on to those bits quite the way it should. Then upgrading your chuck is not only going to take care of those things, it'll basically make it so that your drill is, if you can imagine this, is really better than the day you took it out of the box. Kind of like buying a new car and putting some upgrades on it right away so it's better than new. It's pretty awesome. Now obviously this process is perfect if you want to fix a broken chuck, one that's just given up the ghost, it's broken somehow or died, then of course you can do the same process. But it's also an upgrade, so it works for both of those situations. When it comes to replacing your chuck, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. The first is that there are a few common spindle sizes for different makes and models of drills. Fortunately, most full-size drills are going to use either a 1/2 inch 20 TPI spindle or maybe a 9/16 18 TPI spindle. But just in case, Rome has put together a handy tool to help you find out which chuck will fit your specific drill. Now, if for some reason they don't have your drill listed, they show you exactly how to find your spindle size to ensure that you do get a great fit for your drill. The second consideration is that different brands, and even different models within the brand, tend to use different types of fasteners to attach the chuck to the transmission. Most of the drills that I see here, these are all fairly new, and these are almost all using a Torx, either a T30 or a T40 fastener, but I've also seen ones with flatheads or slotted screwdrivers, as well as Phillips of different sizes and hex keys as well. The upgrade process for most drills is really pretty simple. Here's how it works. Start by opening the jaws of the chuck all the way and taking a quick look at the fastener to find out what type of bit you're going to need to remove it. The fastening screw on this drill, for example, requires a Torx T40. Now the screw is typically a reverse threaded screw, so you're actually going to need to turn it clockwise to loosen it, totally the opposite of what you're used to. This is a case of lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. Use a screwdriver or another drill to remove the screw by turning it clockwise, and keep in mind that there is usually a bit of Loctite on there to hold it in place, so it's going to be a little bit stubborn. Once that screws out, we're ready to take the chuck off. And there are a handful of ways to do this, but we're going to focus on what I think is the simplest way. All you're going to need is one large hex key. You might have one kicking around the house, borrow one if you need to, but we're going to actually tighten the chuck on the short side of the hex key, basically providing a nice long handle on the other side. Next, you can gently secure your drill in a padded vise or something similar to keep it in place while you spin the handle counterclockwise. Now, just remember, this is going to be on there pretty tight, so it may help to use a mallet to break that initial grip, and once you do, it'll start spinning pretty freely. There is a second method that you can use, but I only recommend doing this method if you have plenty of clamps and you have the right kind of location, like I have on the front of my miter saw table here. For the second method, we're going to let the power of the drill do the work for us. Start by laying your drill down on its side, put your drill in its lowest gear, typically first gear, and then also make sure that it's in the forward direction. Once you've got that larger hex key tightened onto the short side of the key. Next, clamp your drill down everywhere you can. Clamp down the handle, clamp down the battery, clamp down the head, everything that you can to make sure it's totally secure and in place. And then put something hard or protective underneath wherever it is that the hex key is going to make contact with the surface. Make sure you're standing clear of, well, everything here, and then gently squeeze on that trigger, letting that first gear power kick in, and it should loosen the chuck for you. If you have anti-kickback, it might resist a little bit, so you might have to do this a couple of times, but it'll break free, and then once you hold that trigger down, it'll spin the chuck right off. Now, to put your new Rome chuck on, we're going to do the same things, but just in reverse. Literally. Thread that new chuck into place by rotating it clockwise, and once it's hand tight, use the hex key method to cinch it down all the way. Once again, you can use the force of the drill to do this job for you just by putting it in reverse and squeezing that trigger. Apply some thread lock to the fastener and then replace it by rotating it counterclockwise until it's snug. With your new Rome chuck in place, you've got a beautiful new chuck on there that's most likely going to outlast the drill itself. This upgrade is one of those ones that's going to make you say to yourself, why didn't I do this many years ago? You're going to immediately notice a few things. You're going to notice that it's going to hold on to those bits a lot easier, and when you click that in place, you'll feel that positive traction knowing that that thing is holding on good and tight. Not only then, but even when you're doing really difficult work. Hammer drilling, hardwood drilling, you name it, it's going to handle it.
Drilling holes is going to be smoother and more precise than ever, and your drill is going to feel compact in your hands so that you can work not only in the open, but in those tight spaces with ease. You can head over to Rome's website, which I'll put links to in the description below, and there they actually came up with this pretty cool tool where you enter in the make and model of your drill, and it'll tell you exactly which fit or which type of chuck will fit perfectly on that drill. Now, I want to thank Rome for not only sponsoring today's video, but also for making it easy for us to make these upgrades. As you saw, it's pretty simple, doesn't take very long, and it really does breathe new life into your drill. Now, speaking of drills, 82% of the people I polled didn't actually know how to use all 5 features that come standard on most drills. So, are you part of the 82% or the 18%? Well, one way to find out. Check out my video right over here and learn more about those 5 things. I'm Nils with Learn to DIY. Well, everyone, believe it or not, 2023 has actually been a very, very good year to buy certain things in the gaming PC market. I know not everything, things like GPUs and certain motherboards have been so bloody expensive. But right now, what I want to do, instead of telling you to buy,
begins in 5 minutes.
come here. Sorry, I was in the middle of a game. So I got things like this. Thingiverse. So this is one thing frame, right? That one guy built. So that's plastic parts that are being printed. Basically, that's remember that thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You can just go on here and look for like. I was looking at this last night. I didn't actually look at Thingiverse because I use. So I use. Let's see what this is going to call. Here, this is that. Look at what is that? That's that black one that you saw.
Okay.
Right? And then here, let's say I wanted to use that one. I can click download, or I can just go down here. Here, download. And then here's the model files, the version STL. Means that's like the CAD drawing. And then if I go, there's usually a.
So are people, what are they selling? The product or the plans?
They're not selling it. I just downloaded it for free. You can sell them at places, but this isn't being sold. I'm going to printables. What do you want to look for? Skateboard hangers. You want that one? Watch this. Download. There's the file right there. Here's the 3MF file. So that's the actual CAD file. This is the G-code files. That's the actual printable file. If I take this, just grab it, download it. So that's a double one. That's a single one. See? 15 hours, 7 minutes, 30 hours, 26 minutes. That's on a Prusa Mini. Mine will go faster than that. Because I have the MK4 model, so that's the latest model they just released. They're about to release an XL model, which can print even bigger things. But basically, your limitation is the size of the platter and the height of your Z. Ball screw.
So go into that skate hanger.
Which one do you want? The little one or the big one?
Yes, the big one.
Okay. We can download this. I'm gonna go
how
up.
it mounts to the wall.
Yeah, that was the pictures right here. Right there. Well, then let's say you don't like that, but okay, so I just downloaded it right here. Watch this. So now I'll do this. Prusa Slicer. Pull up this because this is my Prusa printer. I'm using Prusa Slicer to make the file and whatnot. Here's my printer right there, right? You can turn it and look at it, whatever you want. Well, but watch. This is how easy it is. Oh, wait. Let me get the STL file. Because I grabbed the actual G-code right from it. Because this guy put the G-code up. I don't even need that shit. But let me try this. Okay. Boom. There it is. Right? That's our thing. Let's say that's what we want. Arrange it. We're good. Slice it now. It just sliced it up. Slicing finished. Export G-code. That's all the slices right there. It's showing you. And then I can click export G-code. And then it'll save that as a .mg code. Remember that thing, the file that I was printing? Just saves it like that. And now we can take it downstairs, hit print. It's just going to print it. We're done. That's all I got to do. And if we want to modify it, we could take this 3MF file. Wait, that's actually the G-code file right there. We could take the original, so let's go back to this. We could take this 3MF file, right? And we could take this file and put it into a CAD program or whatever and just alter it. Move it, slide it, slice it in half, separate them, make it bigger, make it double the size. Just double this, everything double. Change this, cut this off, or make that whole big carve it out, or whatever in a 3D CAD program, save it back as a 3MF file, and then import it into this, and it's just going to import it just like we had it what it looked like in the CAD file.
Yeah.
We import it right back into this and click OK, slice it up, and I hit export the G code. OK, and then put that file on the thing, and then just go to print.
So, but here's the question I had. That can work.
Well, that
But
doesn't
how-
have to.
how do
we
I
can
know-
we can discard that, but we can go look at all the other ones. That's the whole thing.
So do the wheels clip in, or are they just hanging?
They're just hanging. They're just sitting there like that. But here, do you want a different style?
I guess one hangs from like the trucks.
That catches the bottom of the truck.
He doesn't ride. He rides.
And you don't know how many riser pads they have. Oh, that's for mounting it like that on the wall. Putting a screw.
That's cool.
That's for like displaying them, you know. That's the sideways one, so it'll catch it. That's mini boards. That's like I have one out there. Yeah, that's a fingerboard, but that's not a fingerboard. That's a regular board. That's the. You know what I mean? If you use the big parts, so those are see the fingerboard right there, and that's the real element board. Fingerboard, element board, fingerboard, element board, fingerboard, element board, fingerboard, element, whatever that board is. But that's like a big popsicle board.
Is there something that just hangs?
You would just print 2 of those, or you could print that and just cut this piece off in CAD, to get rid of this thing, or just print it and then cut it off.
Well, here's the
with a
thing,
saw.
it's got less holes in the wall with one truck hanger. That's where the 2 aren't going to work because he's concrete.
Well, here's a skateboard wheel hanger that prints, and then you have 1 hole for each wheel.
That's the thing. He's not going to hit
a stud everywhere, but it won't. As long as one of them hits a stud, that's going to hold the weight. Well, he's going to hit to good Joel with concrete then. But if you don't want to do that, then
ooh, what was that other one?
What one? See that how it puts the truck in the middle? These ones. These ones you probably just put plastic grip on and you don't even screw them in. See that? Okay. There's 2 holes. You could, in theory,
But
just drill a single hole in the center of it.
That's what I was going to say. Could we change that and put 1 hole and
Yep.
or add a hole in the dead center?
We definitely could.
Leave the 2.
We could do either or. But we could also try and find a different one that is a single.
Shit, you can make that in your lava.
Yep. Well, you can widen that.
What are all these things across the top?
Tabs
that are open right now?
Yep.
Your computer doesn't blow up.
No, because that's why I have this computer that's like a fucking badass. Skateboard. Deck hanger. What does this do? Oh, the screw is that way in.
Oh, okay. I see. That's like a picture frame.
Yep, because the screws go through here to a nut on the deck. That's like your riser basically, but then you put the thing to hang just the fucking thing on the wall. But yeah, that might be your best one then. Do you think that one?
If yeah, because I'm sure with the center hole locked into a stud, that would be
material PETG. 0.4 millimeter layer height, 0.3 millimeter increase in 20%. So it's 20% infill, so it means that those little struts is like 20% of the material. It's not 100%. No, 20% is what's actually filling in. Instead of having,
solid,
there's 80% air and 20% infill between the parts on those layers. Just to make it a little bit longer.
So what do I need? What do I need for this?
I do this. So do you want to print it like this with two of them, or do you want to actually modify it?
Probably.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna go. I'm gonna create a new folder. It's gonna take a second to do that because there's so many different things it has to go through to actually put a new folder on there.
This I gotta add.
Those are vape cartridges. Shine is a company that sells. This is High Supply. They sell weed.
Well, so will you fail a drug test with this?
Yeah. That's way more concentrate. That's concentrate. That's like you didn't. I don't know what that is.
Dude, I don't.
It's good stuff. It's weed oil. Straight like THC oil. It's like weed that's been concentrated down and taken into it. This is like 80% THC. You like that? It's a big thing. This has flavor in it too. There's no smell to it. Well, there's flavor. Yeah.
So that was like taking a hit, and as Keith would know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but like probably 3 times as strong. That's a 20%. This is 80%.
Why do you even deal with that?
Because I like smoking. The taste of the green is fucking good. I like it. You know what I mean? I just like weed, so.
So that.
But that's what I take when I go. I fly on the planes and I just put those through with my keys and everything. Just go through like it's like a cigarette cartridge. Nobody knows the difference. I go everywhere with it. Smoking in front of people, I don't give a fuck. They just think I'm smoking nicotine.
Like driving down the road?
Yeah. That's how I drive for 8 hours straight, How the fuck do you think I go?
I was wondering. I don't know.
How do you think I go for that long, Because I'm like, fuck it. I just zone out, fucking turn on the fucking YouTube, listen to it, turn on a podcast, go for 20 hours, 4 hours, get till I get somewhere, and then I'm fucking, what was this thing? Skateboard? Wall hanger. Save it in that folder. Save. We're gonna go to that thing.
So
all the files are there.
That's 3 times stronger, you say, right?
What?
Then you say that's like.
Well, it's like, think about it. Like, so this is THCA 18.81%, right? And this is. They have to. That's because THC 86.56%. Right? So you're talking 18.81% versus 86%. This is like 4 times. This is 4+ times, 4.5 times as strong as this weed. This weed here. Look at this weed here. This weed here, THCA 20.
Oh my god.
This is 28.7%. So this weed here is stronger than this weed here. This is like 10% stronger. This is 28%.
What do you think yours was?
Probably.
You noticed
this
the
stuff
difference?
here. I don't know. This is probably 10-12%. The shit that they were smoking in the 60s was like 5%, 6%, you know?
I should try getting you some from the day.
Yeah, you should. Anyways, yeah, Michigan is Michigan's a great place to go.
But how much is this? Like quantity? Obviously, you're legal to buy this and drive with it, right?
As long as it's not opened.
So, like a brand new bag, you're allowed
Yeah.
just to have this
Yeah.
up on the dashboard.
Yeah. Well, I'm not using it. But you're probably gonna give them a reason. Like it comes home. I come home with they put it in a brown paper bag and put a little sticker on receipt to it. But you can have that, whatever. It's yours as long as you're not using it. It's legal. It's like having beer in your car.
But what
You
is
just
this,
drive
like
down the road with a 6-pack on your dashboard. What you're
is
doing
this, like a
essentially.
quarter or
That's
what?
nuts. Yeah.
It was fuller, right?
A little bit, not much. I just got it yesterday. Not much fuller.
What would that run cost-wise?
Technically 133, but then they add taxes to it. So you're going from like 133 to like they put like 3% tax on it. I don't know. Let's go to EarthMed and look.
What's in what did an ounce cost this back then?
Depends on what year you're talking, but by the time that I was done selling them, sometimes 350.
60 in the eighth, right?
Yeah.
So really,
Or
probably
50 if you were actually a normal person, but everyone would charge 60.
Probably about 4. I think I was getting it for like about.
You know,
45
they
and a
charge 60 an eighth, and they charge 100 for a quad, so you were getting a $20 discount for buying the bulk, and then quad was 2/8.
So there's
but
4 quads.
most people that were nice would charge you $50, and then they charge you $100 for a quad, and you would get $50 an eighth, $100 a quad. But some people would charge you $60 an eighth, they charge you $100 a quad. Some people would charge you $120 a quad.
Yeah.
I had people that were charging $300 an ounce, and I knew people that would charge $350 an ounce, which means that you could sell one bag, and because the $400 an ounce is eight $50 bags, and if you're charging people $50, which is what I would charge people, I would go to college. I would go get a fucking ounce for $3.50, and I would sell an eighth for $50, and I would essentially get an eighth for free.
Yeah.
And then I would smoke the rest of the ounce.
Yeah.
And smoke 7/8, and I'd give it 1/8 away for $50, and basically get $300 for 7/8 instead of. That was like because it was on the illegal market. So now, if you look at this, we can go here. We can go. Let's filter this by so vapes, edibles, pre-rolls, extract, tropical. We're gonna by flower, and then just like shopping on Amazon or whatever, we're gonna go here. I'm gonna filter it again. I'm gonna go to all the way down here. We can filter it to weights. So we're gonna go 28 grams because that's an ounce. 14 grams is but. So they only have 3 of these left. 133, 133, 133. So let's say we want. So see that's 30 versus 23, 23. Let's say I do that. Okay, I want a gram. Okay, 133 estimated fee. Proceed to checkout. $32. So 133 becomes $32.50 in tax. So it becomes 166. But that's still almost half of what you would pay.
They're not taxing terrible.
They're still taxing pretty good.
Yeah.
$32 on $130. I did buy a Sam's Club membership the other day. But yeah, so let's say now we've got the files right here for that. This is the STL file. I think we can actually open it with this. Yep. So now we can go. Be able to. I've never used this program before. I don't know if I can fucking grab something.
time are you going?
12:05.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Fuck, I have to go. Dude.
All right,
I'm sorry to get you going on.
No, you're good. But
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
we can mess with this thing later.
How long
though.
about that?
I don't know. Not that long. Why?
12:05. Fuck.
Why?
I gotta go salt tonight.
All right. Here's the wireframe. The wireframe of it. The grid of it. Oh, that's the background grid. There's an X-ray of it.
So awesome.
Maybe this isn't the right program to use to.
So
No, you're
sorry
good.
to
You're
get you
good. You're good.
started
You're
up.
good. You're
I
good.
gotta-
You're good. I will.
That snowblower running, right?
Yeah, I already started it. I started it about 2 weeks ago to make sure it would start up and it was good, and I topped it off with some whatchamacallit, fluid. All right, cool. I'll shut the door behind you.